Hey linguists. So I'm going to go over all of these syntax slides. A lot of it is going to be review, but I figure it could only help and not hurt. So this might be a longish video. There are multiple points in this video where you can stop. You can access the slides on the drive. There are videos within this video, so you should stop and you should watch those videos. I realize that's very meta, and this has multiple layers, but I think you guys are intelligent enough that you can handle it. Okay, so this is for weeks 3 and 4, syntax only. All right. Okay, so I want you guys to do exercises number 5, 6, and 7, and 9. So those are on the drive. I put them in a Word document there. You can take a look at them. 6 and 7, they're the same types of things, and I have videos to help you out with getting started doing each of those exercises. Okay, we went over what syntax is, so it's basically sentence formation. We went over what some of its functions are, so if you guys need to be reminded, you can just take a look at the slides. We also went over what's grammatical and ungrammatical. So this no longer means what you think it means, right? There's no longer good grammar or bad grammar. It's something that either follows patterns or doesn't follow patterns, right? So well-formed sentences or ill-formed sentences. There are some examples we went over. We talked about how semantics or meaning doesn't necessarily inform how well a sentence is formed, and that our judgments aren't innate, that they're formed socially. We went over the hierarchy of structure, and this is sort of the same as morphology. Words are put together in a hierarchical way, and sentences are also organized hierarchically. We know how sentences are formed and when the formation of sentences changes the meaning and when it keeps the meaning the same. This is called structural differences. And we looked at a few examples. You guys were great at this. I also let you guys know that you should brush up on your syntactic categorization. So that just means, do you know the parts of speech of words? And basically what we're looking at are lexical items, so verbs, nouns, adverbs, adjectives, that kind of thing, and non-lexical items. Little bits of words that don't carry meaning in and of themselves, but that they show relationships between other lexical items. So that's like prepositions, coordinators, articles, things like that. So lexical and non-lexical. Okay, so we looked at the formation of a sentence, particularly in sentences are put together as phrases, right? So we have collections of words that make up phrases, and then we put those phrases together. And we learned that those are called constituents. Every phrase has a head, so in the blue book, it's talking about the noun. It's a noun phrase. The head of that phrase will be book. And that's what it looks like if we diagram it out. The constituents are collections of words or natural groupings, and it's sometimes complex to know what groups of words make a phrase and how to break them up. One of the tests is coordination. Can we add something similar to it using a coordinator? Another test is substitution. Could we put in maybe a pronoun or the do so verb? And then the movement test. Could we take out that phrase and move it to another part of the sentence? We practiced a little bit with that. We took a look at this diagram of the phrases. So the child is a noun phrase. Put the puppy in the garden is another phrase. Within put the puppy in the garden, we have the puppy. Here it is. and we have in the garden. And within this prepositional phrase, we have yet another phrase embedded, the garden. So these are just layers of embedding. Again, it's a little bit meta, right? It's like looking at one of those pictures that has a mirror in it where you can see the reverse image again and again and again and again, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. This is just called recursion. It happens in nature, it happens in the sciences, and it happens in our brains with language as well, which I think is pretty cool. We did some tests with this sentence, the girl kicked the ball. So, oh, great, it's stuck on a picture of me. This is a video. I'm not going to play the video within this video right here, but you guys should stop, open up the slides, and take a look at this video. It basically just helps get you started with exercises 6 and 7, which are our constituency tests. And then you can come back to this video. So as we are looking at how to build sentences using phrases, we use what's called the X-bar theory. X-bar theory is something that's used in statistics and mathematics, computer programming, and probability. We also use it in language. Somebody named Noam Chomsky came up with this. It's a Chomskyan theory. You may have heard of him before. And within X-bar, there's a couple levels, 3 levels of how sentences are put together. So within a phrase, there's always a head, right? So if it's a noun phrase, the head is going to be a noun. There is sometimes a specifier, and in English, the specifier comes before, usually. Those are determiners, adverbs, and degree words. Sometimes those adverbs or adjectives come after. And then there's the complement. It's just additional information about the head, and it's usually embedded in its own phrase. So again, there's some recursion and depth going on there. Let's take a look. Never trust a rumor. So this is a verb phrase. We see that here. Within the verb phrase, never trust a rumor, we have some embedded phrases. So for just the verb, there's never trust, right? And then embedded within that verb phrase is a noun phrase, a rumor. The noun phrase has a determiner and it has a noun. So within the matrix phrase, never trust a rumor, there is embedded a second phrase, a rumor. So we didn't do exercise 3, and you're not required to, but if you want, you can just stop and try to do a couple of these. It's just building trees using this X schema, the X-bar schema. You would build a tree for the zoo. So for the zoo, you would have noun phrase at the top. The left side would drop down to the determiner, the, and the right side would drop down to the N bar, which is the noun bar, and then the N, the noun, zoo. So this phrase just has 2 items in it. This is going to be exactly the same, except it's a verb phrase instead of a noun phrase. The specifier is always, it's a degree word, and then the verb, the head of the phrase is try. So you could try to do a couple more. All phrases have 3 levels of structure. It has the head, the bar level, and then the phrase level. All phrases contain a head, so for the verb phrase, the head is trust. A complement can be attached at the medium level, the bar level. So the complement, the thing that goes with never trust, is a rumor, a noun phrase, and it attaches at the bar level here. The bar level is what accounts for recursion. It allows recursion to happen. And then sometimes there's a specifier that's attached to the phrase level, and we can see that here with the adverb never. These are the syntactic categories, lexical categories, and non-lexical categories. And then I have a whole bunch of slides that just review what we went over so far. And it has a bunch of examples. So as you go through the slides yourself, you can take a look at these and look at the examples. I draw a couple phrase structures for you. We can see that there's a specifier, the, and a noun, presidents. And if I added of the United States, I would add it here at the bar level, which means that the bar level would branch off into two sides instead of just one going down. Here's an example. So here's the bar level. It branches off in two directions. One goes down to the head of the noun phrase, presidents, and the other one branches off to the prepositional phrase, of the USA. This just gives examples for different types of phrases. So here's an example for the verb phrases. Go ahead and pause and read through it if you need to. Here's an example for an adjective phrase. It uses the specifier very. Here's an example for a prepositional phrase. And I'm not going to test you on any phrase structure rules. That would be if this were more of a linguistics-focused course where you're just studying these different aspects of linguistics. But since we're just studying the structures of English, I don't expect you to know how to write out the rules. This demonstrates how to draw a tree. We did this exercise in class together. And subcategorization is just a fancy word for the types of complements that a head can take. And we use it mostly with verbs. So especially certain verbs are either transitive or intransitive. It means they either take a complement or two or none at all. And here are some examples of the types of complements that verbs can take. This slide explains that a whole sentence is going to be reflected by or represented by IP, which means inflected phrase. Inflection, in this case, it means it's tensed. It means it has a verb. It's probably going to be independent, what you guys know as an independent phrase or clause. And that means that it can be a sentence. It can stand on its own unless it has something like a dependent or some sort of subordinator on the beginning of it. All inflected phrases will have some sort of verb, and they will all look like this. So they'll all have a specifier on this side, which is going to be a noun phrase, because that's what subjects are, right? And then all of them are going to have inflection here, which means tense or time, and then a verb phrase that comes off of that. Because in English, after there's a subject, there's always a verb. This is the general structure. So we can see there's the inflected phrase here. One branch goes to the subject, the noun phrase, the students, and the other branch goes to the I bar level. Remember, we always have to have a bar level. And it says plus past, loved. So we can see that there is an inflection there, morphology, remember. And then it goes right to the verb, and it represents the verb loved. It tells you the time or the tense right here. Then it goes on to what was loved, the textbook, and it's just a noun phrase. If we have an inflected phrase embedded inside an inflected phrase, this will recur, the same pattern. And this is the whole purpose of looking at X-bar theory and syntax. It's to see what patterns happen in any given language and how do they happen. The students will love the textbook. So instead of having it be plus past with the ed ending here, it's future time, right? It's minus past, and there's a modal or a helping verb right here. Okay, so you can pause this video and you can open the slides and you can take a look at this video. Again, it's going to help you with exercise 5, which is just writing trees, sentence trees for a couple sentences. I help you out with A and B, and then you have a few more to do for exercise 5. And then you can move on in this video. The next thing we're going to talk about are complement clauses. These are embedded sentences inside another sentence. So think about the sentence. I wonder if she will take the test. How do we incorporate the second sentence? She will take the test. So we have a subject here, I, and a verb, wonder. And then we have if she will take the test. And the if, it's called a complementizer. It makes this rest of this sentence a complement to the subject and verb. And it has its own sentence inside here. She will take the test. So the second sentence, she will take the test, is called, or if she will take the test, is called a complement clause or a CP, complement phrase. And it's serving as a complement of the verb wonder. Any words such as that, whether, and if are called complementizers, and they are embedded within the matrix clause or the main clause, the largest IP, inflected phrase that contains the CP. And I've bracketed it here and here. And within the matrix is this complement phrase here and here. So let's take a look at the structure. Here's the IP for the matrix. This side is the specifier, the coach, and this side indicates the inflection, and the verb phrase, knows. So the verb bar branches off into two sides. One side is the verb, and the next side is the CP, the complement phrase. The complement phrase branches off to the complement, so that, whether, or if, and then the other side branches off to a new IP. And this IP will look exactly like this one with different words. It's the same structure, it just repeats itself over and over and over. So just like petals on a flower or anything, if you've ever seen like a snail's shell. But you see this occur in nature quite a bit. Here are some examples of some sentences that have complement phrases embedded inside them. Nancy believes that aliens exist. So that aliens exist is the complement phrase. Sailors know that a ship could sink. That a ship could sink is the complement phrase. The guides noticed that the whales swam near the boat. That the whales swam near the boat is the complement phrase. A complement phrase does not have to end when the sentence ends. The sentence can go on, so don't be confused by that. But we're just looking at some simple examples. Next, you should take a look at exercise 9. The first thing that you do for exercise 9 should be to put complement phrases in the brackets. That's the first thing you should do. So here we would bracket off that the students will study hard, because that's a whole new recursive inflected phrase. Then you identify the subject and the verb. So the teachers is the subject, hopes is the verb, and this whole phrase is the complement to that verb. Within this phrase, you identify the new subject and verb. So the students would be the subject, and will study hard is the whole verb phrase. Hard is a specifier, right? It describes how they will study. So go ahead and pause this video and you can open the slides and watch this video. I help you out with one of the complement phrases, and then you have to do the next for exercise 9. So the question is, why does all of this matter? Well, here's a joke that is, it's famous for one of the Marx Brothers telling it. He said, I shot the elephant in my pajamas. What was he doing in my pajamas? I'll never know. Oh, look, I mistyped the joke. There we go. What he was doing in my pajamas, I'll never know. So ambiguity, that's one of the reasons why syntax matters. How are sentences put together? How are phrases related to each other? And can we show visually how that relationship happens? And this has to do with what's an argument and what's an adjunct, which we'll get to in just a moment. But my first question here is, what is the semantic difference between these sentences? 1, the children ate. 2, the children ate the pizza. 3, the children ate with enthusiasm. And 4, the children ate the pizza with enthusiasm. So semantic difference means difference in meaning. This just means the children ate. And this tells us what the children ate. This tells us how the children ate, right? They ate with enthusiasm. And then the sentence gets more complicated. Is it telling us that the children ate with enthusiasm the pizza, or that they ate the pizza that has enthusiasm, right? So if enthusiasm was something like pepperoni, then it might be the pizza with enthusiasm. Or if it's that the children had enthusiasm while they're eating, it would just be a plain old pizza, and they would have eaten it, but joyfully and enthusiastically. So this is structural ambiguity. Structural ambiguity means we don't know what phrase goes with what word or what other phrase until we make sense of it semantically and we show all the different relationships that it can have. So that's the syntactic difference between these sentences. So the children ate the pizza with enthusiasm. Syntactically, this phrase right here, which is a prepositional phrase, has to be related to the verb ate, right? It cannot be related to the pizza. It has to be related to ate and the children eating the pizza with enthusiasm. Being able to show the difference structurally for these sentences has to do with what's an adjunct and what is an argument. So an adjunct is something optional. It's structurally dispensable, meaning you could throw it away out of the structure from the sentence, the clause, or the phrase. If you remove it or discard it, an adjunct will not otherwise affect the remainder of the sentence. So, we have adjuncts in the English department here at AUIS. Adjuncts are something that we use when we don't have enough full-time faculty, right? And what adjunct means is that we bring them in for a certain function and then we take them out afterwards. So they're not integral to the whole of the department, even though some of us might argue that they are. It means that we use them sometimes and we don't use them other times. So let's look at this. Asma helped Noah with her homework. Is with her homework something that is an adjunct? Could we dispense with it? Could we say Asma helped Noah? We could. We could just say one person helped another. We don't need anything else. We could take it out, and structurally, it doesn't make a difference. It just adds a little bit of meaning. So semantically, it makes a difference, but not structurally. An argument, however, is an expression that helps complete the meaning of the predicate or the verb. If you remove or discard it, an argument will leave the sentence incomplete. So here, Noah is the argument. We couldn't just say Asma helped or Asma helped with her homework. We need somebody or something that Asma helped. the verb helped means that you need some sort of noun right here. So in this example, Asma is the subject argument, helped is the predicate, noir is the object argument, with her homework is the first adjunct, and on Sunday is the second adjunct. I didn't read that sentence first, sorry. Asma helped Noir with her homework on Sunday. So this is subcategorization. The requirement is any of these options here. So you don't need any. You could use a noun phrase. You could use two noun phrases. You could use a prepositional phrase, or you could use a noun phrase and a prepositional phrase. So helped has lots of options. So let's just take a look at this example from Shakespeare that we looked at in class last time. Last time we were all together. But be contented when that fell arrest, without all bail shall carry me away. So what we found here is that without all bail is an adjunct, right? We don't necessarily need it. The through line of the sentence is, be contented when that fell arrest shall carry me away. That's the through line of the meaning. And it just modifies that this can happen without all bail, meaning no one can get you out of it. No one can post bail for you, and then you get out of death. You die, and you have to keep going with death. Nothing saves you. Here, sometimes when we're reading theory, when we're reading academic articles, when we're reading Shakespeare, it's easier to understand the meaning if we can find what are the adjuncts. What can we take away structurally in order to understand the through line of what's been saying? And then we can add in the adjuncts later to provide more clarity. Okay, so the next video, you guys have to do exercises, I think I said 5, 6, and 7, and 9. Go ahead and do them by yourself, do them together, but you have to have your own paper that you take a picture of and upload so that I can see that you did it and give you credit. And then the next video will be on a little bit of some structural and syntactic examples from Old English. All right, thank you very much.